Alright, I've been reading the comments. A lot of you guys have been saying, Wolfgang, you don't play 1-2 or 2-5 anymore. Well, today is your day. I'm here at TCH in Dallas, Texas. We're back in the place that I got an apartment about 6 months ago. And the games here are phenomenal. So I'm going to show you guys how to beat the low stakes. I'm going to start off at 1-2. And after a few hours of playing that and getting a little bored, I'll probably switch over to 2-5. Get in for around 1,000 and go from there. If you guys like me playing lower stakes and not only the big live streams like Hustler, TCH, and the Lodge, let me know down below. Maybe I'll incorporate this a few times a month. Also made a training course with my coach Alvin. I'll tell you more about that at the end of this video. Hopefully we can book a big win here. The win rates in the 1-2 and the 2-5 are astronomical. You won't believe them even if I told you. But as for now, let's get right into the hands. Let's run it up. Let's go. Alright, hopping right into the 1-2 game. I'm in for $300, and first hand we get rewarded with pocket tens. Have to raise that up. I like a sizing of $15. You guys might think that's a little bit large going 7x considering it's a 1-2 game, but you got to read the table. I've seen a few things here, and $15 definitely is a good bet. The villain on the button decides to 3-bet me to $60, a little bit large here, but I decide to put in the call, leading us off to a flop, which is pretty good for us. Ace 10 6, bang, we flop middle set. I go for a check, and the button now decides to c-bet for $60. The action's back over to me, and normally I would probably just call here, but I look over at his stack, and he has around $160. It's important to think here, what are scare cards on the turn? If he has a hand like Ace Queen or Ace King, any spade might be a scare card. So I want to get it in now and hopefully get all of his money. I jam for $160 effective, and the opponent somehow, some way folds his cards. So even though it seems like we lost out on a little bit of value here by shoving right on the flop, I think it's important to just get it in here. He doesn't have much more behind. He makes a pretty good fold. He obviously did not have an ace. And that moves us right into the second hand of the night. And I look down at the beautiful Ace Queen offsuit from the small blind. $5 straddles on. There's one limp, so I make it $25 to go. The straddler puts in the call, and the limper does as well. 3 ways to the flop here, and it comes okay. King 9-8 rainbow. Why do I say it's okay? Well, the king connects really well with us. The opponents really shouldn't have too much ace king and king queen. They also really can't have pocket kings or aces. That means we have the range advantage on this board. However, they will have more 9-8 suited and pocket 9s and pocket 8s. What does that mean? I think it means we should go for a bet here, and I size down to $30. Straddler puts in the call. He could have 10 jack, maybe a hand like 10-7 or 7-6, or he could have all those strong hands I just mentioned. Interestingly enough, the villain in the +1 decides to jam for $130, and that's where our story ends. I fold my cards, but let's see the way this hand played out. I know you guys are going to be curious here. The other opponent puts in the call. The turn comes a 6, followed by a queen on the river, and the villain who jammed on the flop has king deuce suited. So for those of you that think poker is dead, come out to Dallas, king deuce suited, calling a raise pre-flop, and then just jamming the flop. Interesting play there. Love it. $367 going his way. Third hand of the night, we pick up pocket kings. King Kong here in Dallas, the Cowboys, I should say. We see a raise from under the gun, which is usually always pretty strong. So I decide to size up here to $50 on my 3-bet. We'd obviously love to see a 4-bet out of under the gun, in which case I would just 5-bet rip it in his face. But instead, he just puts in the call. And of course, whenever you have pocket kings, there's an ace on the flop, ace 10-9 rainbow, and the opponent checks it over to me. Now, for those of you that are unsure what to do on ace-high boards when you have kings and queens and jacks, depending on the other two cards, so ace 10-9 here, I think we should go for a c-bet. Like I said in that last hand, range advantage is key, and we're going to have pocket aces, pocket 10s, ace king, ace queen, all that good stuff. I decide to go for a c-bet, and the opponent puts in the call. Now on the 6 of hearts turn, it really shouldn't help any of us. When he checks it over to me, I'm going to go for some pot control and check it behind. Sure, I could continue to blast on this turn and represent all my strong hands, but what am I targeting to fold? Maybe a hand like Queen 10 or Jack 10 exclusively. Maybe a hand like 8 Jack or Jack 7, but 8-7 makes a straight on the turn. So I kind of like my check back here, and the jack of diamonds peels off on the river. Opponent checks it over to me for a third time, and I decide to get to a showdown here. Check behind, and we are going to win this pot. I turn over the kings. He mucks his cards, 173. Ship it over to me. Moving right along here, we see a raise from the low jack. The cutoff puts in the call. Actions on me and the button. And with a good hand like queen jack of spades, going to come in for a 3-bet, and I decide to make it $60. Why $60, you might ask? Well, I usually go 3x, so 15 times 3 is 45, plus I'm going to add another 15 for that caller in the cutoff. That makes it $60. In position the rest of the way seems pretty cool as well. The low jack puts in the call. Will the cutoff put in the call as well, or will he get out of the way? He decides to put in that call, and we're off to the flop, which gives me top pair with a pretty good kicker on a jack 10-3 board. Low jack and cutoff both check it over to me. I decided to go for a sizing just under half pot here of $75, and the action's back over to the low jack. He gets out of the way, and the cutoff now decides to put in the call, leading us off to a harmless 5 of diamonds on the turn. I say harmless, but the cutoff thinks otherwise, and he decides to jam all in for $190. This is really weird in my opinion. What is he jamming on the turn, the 5 of diamonds, that he didn't want to get in on the flop? Does he have a hand like king queen? Does he have a hand like pocket threes that somehow didn't raise me on the flop and just jams the turn? It's just such a weird line. Sure, I have a jack, but it almost feels kind of like a bluff catcher at this point. I don't think he would have called me on the flop with pocket 5, so I can rule that out. Still, at these 1-2 games, if you make top pair, it's best just to put the money in when you're confused. So that's what I decided to do. I put that 190 in the middle. Just like that, we're playing a $700 pot here at 1-2. And we're going off to a river, which comes the 4 of clubs. Really shouldn't change anything. I love that it didn't connect with that jack or 10. The opponent says that we are good. Turns over queen 10 of hearts. Interestingly, he decided to shove that turn there. A good thing I put in the call with my queen jack. $700 coming over to me. We're racking up our chips, trying to head over to the 2-5 game, but not before we get King Kong again. The Cowboys strike twice here in Dallas. We see a raise from under the gun and a call. Of course, I have to 3-bet, and I decide to make it $50 to go. The villain of the +2 doesn't put in the call. He also doesn't fold, which means he jams his entire stack into the middle. Easy snap call for me here with pocket kings. It's only $151 effective, but I would have put my entire stack in regardless of what he had in his stack. We're going to go off to a run out here, and the board comes 8-4-3, followed by a queen, then a deuce. I turn over the kings. The opponent does not have a better hand, which means we are hitting and running this table. No, not really. I told them that this was my last hand regardless. It just so happens I'm scooping in a pot, stacking an opponent, and we're taking all these chips over to the 2-5 table. I did have to add on for an additional 700 chips, so we ended up booking a $527 profit in that 1-2. And let's get to work here in 2-5. Let's see if we can spin it up. All right, a cool $1,500 in my stack. I'm on the button here with 7-8 of hearts. Under the gun raises it up to $15. And I could either call here or 3-bet. I'm definitely not folding. The merit to just calling is that the player isn't under the gun, which usually means they're going to have a tighter range. If the player that raised was in the cutoff or hijack, I probably would 3-bet them. Instead, I just decided to put in the call, which means we are going heads up to a flop, which comes 8-7-4. Bang, we flop 2 pair. Under the gun bets out for 20, and I think both options here are good between calling and raising. I decide just to call, probably going to spring the trap on the turn, which comes a king of spades. I love this card because all of his king 10, king jack, king queen, and ace king now improve to a pair and are going to want to continue betting. Sure enough, he does bet out for $50. It's kind of a weird card to raise in my spot because it really shouldn't help me out. Not really going to be playing king 8 or king 7 suited. So when I do go for the raise here, obviously with my 2 pair, he thinks it's a little bit weird. Maybe I slow played a set, straight, or 2 pair on the flop, and he does in fact fold his cards. Unfortunately for us, he did not have ace king or king queen there. He definitely would have put more money in the middle, but still feels pretty good to win the first hand, moving up in stakes here, and that brings us to hand number 2. Find ourselves on the button once again here, this time with 8-9 of clubs. When the action folds around to me, I go for a raise to $25. The The small blind wants to 3-bet, but makes it way too small in my opinion. $65 is the price that they decide to make it. In my opinion, you want to go around 4 times the size of my bet, which means around 100 to 125 would suffice. Middle position wants to put in the money. I complete as well. We are going 3 ways to a flop, which gives me top pair, backdoor straight ideas, backdoor club ideas, and yeah, we don't hate this flop in the slightest. It is a little bit worrisome though when the small blind does not slow down and instead bets out for $130. Around 2/3 the size of the pot into 2 opponents is pretty strong. I'm not folding here when I make top pair, but I'm definitely going to proceed with caution. He easily could have pocket 10s through pocket aces in this spot. Still, got to put in the call here. I'm never raising, and we see a great card on the turn. Comes the 7 of spades, gives me a gutter to a straight. When the small blind slows down and checks it over to me now, I think this is a spot we want to bet. The reason we want to bet here is if he has a hand like ace-king, king-queen, queen-jack, jack-10, all of that stuff we have beat at the moment, but any overcard to the 8 is going to put us in a weird situation. So we want to get value with our pair of 8s. If he has a hand like pocket 9s or pocket 10s and is trapping us here, so be it. I like my bet here of 275. I'm expecting to get a lot of folds. Just want to clean up the equity here and charge him in case he wants to call with a hand like ace-queen of spades, which he does. He puts in the call here. Just like that, we're off to the river, which comes the jack of spades. Opponent checks it over to me for another time, and I think checking back here is the best play. We have showdown value. We don't really want to turn that into a bluff. We still beat hands like ace-10, ace-king, ace-queen. That didn't make a flush on the jack of spades river. I think turning my 8 into a bluff here and trying to get a hand like 9s or 10s to fold would kind of be ambitious and not really the best move. I check behind and he shows me a monster, pocket queens. He definitely was going to snap call me on any bet on the river, I would think. And yeah, even though we're losing that $1,020 pot, I think I saved a little bit of money there not going for a bluff on the river. Unfortunately, I do in fact have to top up for an additional $400. Didn't want to have to do that using the profits from the 1-2 table, but nature of the beast here, we didn't win that last hand, topping up to be at full strength for this next one, where I come in for a 3-bet in the hijack with 7-6 of spades. Under the gun puts in the call, and we see a flop which comes 10-10-4 with 1 spade. Opponent checks it over to me. It's a pretty dry board. I want to get all of his overcards to fold, so I bet out for 1/3 for $45. The opponent puts in the call still. He could have ace-queen, ace-jack, queen-jack, a lot of stuff that I can continue to bet on the 5 of spades on the turn. Try to get him to fold. I do in fact pick up a straight draw now, also picking up a spade flush draw. So a lot of outs here even though I just have 7 high. I think I need to go for a large bet here and charge the maximum. Try to get him to fold any 2 overcards, and I bet out for $200, nearly the size of the pot. It's important to go for a big sizing with your bluffs if you also go for a big sizing with your value hands. So what hands am I representing here that are strong? Well, of course, pocket 4s, pocket 5s, and then any of the 10x like 10-9, ace-10, all that good stuff. So you really want to be balanced. I bet $200 and the opponent cannot hold on any longer. Mucks his cards, 7 high, ship it over to me. An unfortunate situation arises. I have pocket aces. How is this a bad situation? Well, it's a dreaded misdeal. Somehow, some way, something was screwed up. Pocket aces, have to fold them. That is just such a bummer. But we get pocket kings in the very next hand here from the under the gun straddle position. We see a raise to 45 and then a 3-bet jam to 125. So the poker gods are definitely making up for that aces on the misdeal with a raise and a 3-bet jam. I obviously have to come in for another raise. A 4-bet is in order, and I decide to make it a cool $340. That sets off some alarm bells to the middle position. He gets out of the way. The button cannot get out of the way. He is already all in. He is stuck in this hand whether he likes it or not. And we are going off to a run out in a $300 pot, which of course, once again, comes ace high. The turn comes the 5 of hearts followed by the 9 of diamonds on the river. And when we turn over pocket kings, he shows ace 9 offsuit. So yeah, pocket kings, kryptonite is of course an ace on the flop. He's actually going to make 2 pair on that river, but he didn't need it with the ace on the flop, bringing us right into my favorite hand, pocket 7s, arguably better than kings and aces, in my book at least. We see a raise from the cutoff to 30. I could be 3-betting out of the small blind, but instead, I want to invite the big blind or straddler in, and I put in the call. One other limper puts in the call as well. We're going 3 ways to the flop, which comes king 3-3 with 2 hearts. Cutoff bets out for 30, which is pretty small. Got to put in the call when you have a pair, actually 2 pair to be exact, 7s and 3s. Pretty hard to make. I put in the money and we're off to the turn, which comes a harmless 4 of diamonds. When I check it over to the cutoff once again, he goes for a small sizing of 45. Just really doesn't seem like too much value here. Sure, he could have a hand like 8s, 9s, or 10s, but he's also going to have a lot of the time queen jack, ace 10, ace jack, all of this garbage. I decide I want to raise it up here, and I want to get it in with my pocket 7s, and I decide to jam for $175. If he wants to play for it, he's going to have to call it off here. Hopefully he has a diamond draw or a heart draw, puts in the money, and then bricks. That would be best case scenario, but surprisingly he folds. So I didn't really think there was much fold equity there, but yeah, he finds the fold. I probably got 2 overcards with some equity to get out of the way there, which is always a win with a small pocket pair. Ship that $200 pot over to me, bringing us into the last hand of the night. Let's see if we can learn something here. Ace queen of clubs from the big blind. Few limps over to me, and of course, I'm not going to check it behind with a great hand. I make it $30, and not 1, 2, 3, but 4 people put in the call. Low stakes poker is not dead. Come out to Dallas. Hit me up on Instagram. I'll come out and play with you guys. Ace queen of clubs. Pretty good spot to be in. 5 ways to a flop, which comes ace of spades, jack of clubs, 7 of hearts. Flopping ourselves top pair is pretty good, but against a lot of opponents, they could have any assortment of hands like pocket 7s, jack 7, ace 7, or even ace jack. So I decided to check, given the fact I'm out of position to all other 4 players. And sure enough, the player 2 to my left bets out for $60 into the field. That clears everybody out of the way, and of course, I'm not going anywhere with top pair. I've severely underplayed it by checking this flop. I put in the call, and we are off to the turn, which comes the 8 of diamonds. Checking it in flow over to that player once again, who does not slow down and tosses out a bunch of green chips. It's not Christmas, but he bets $150. And yeah, I'm not going anywhere once again. Have to put in the call, bringing us off to the river, which comes a board pairing 7 of clubs. I check and flow over to him once again. I debate going for a small blocker bet here, but if I get raised, it just puts me in a weird spot. So instead I check, and he checks behind, which almost assuredly means I have the best hand. I table my ace queen for 2 pair, and he mucks his. We're taking down that last hand of the night, wrapping up the 1-2 and 2-5 session. We played around 5 hours of poker tonight. Let's bring it to the outro to see how we did. Alright you guys, wrapping up this fun video at the low stakes in Dallas. TCH Las Colinas was the venue. We ended up playing an hour and a half of 1-2 and booking a $527 profit. I probably should have just stayed there for the entirety of this video, but the curiosity got the best of me. I hopped into the 2-5, topped up $700 more, and ended up losing 208. So a net profit of $319 in around 4.5 hours of play. As you can see here, this is why I think Dallas has probably the best low stakes games in the country. It's always a fun time and never a shortage of action. And I even got pocket aces on a missed deal, so that could have been even more profitable if I would have been able to play that. If you guys like seeing these types of videos, definitely let me know down below. Do you want to see more of the Lodge, Hustler, Bally's Big Bet, or do you want to see more private games, home games, small stakes 1-2? I'll make more if you guys let me know, but as for now, we're checking out. There's 2 links down below. One if you want to get better, a few courses you'll get a discount to. And if you guys think you're already good and want to test out your skills in the online streets, of course, I have a few places that I play myself. Wouldn't recommend anything that I don't dabble in. So yeah, go check out those links. Good luck on the felt, you guys. I'll catch you in the next video. As always, peace!
Is that Wolfgang Poker?